You guys already know this is the main one tapping in all the way from H-Town, Houston, Texas. I'm here with my boy T.A.G.
T.A.G.
T.A.G, very nice, very evil.
Yeah, that's tag shit.
The only thing we're gonna do is take over, baby.
Free fall as I die through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine.
Yeah. What up, Tag Nation? Welcome to a supersized edition of NXT.A.G. This episode, I'm weaving in the events of No Mercy. I'm weaving in the events of last night's NXT in this one supersized episode. So, you know what I'm saying? We're going to try to go through this together, and I'm going to try to do this in this oh so beautiful way that I do. Now, at No Mercy, for the NXT Men's Championship, we had the ruler, Obafemi, aka Mr. No Bread, No Water, Just Meat, took on Absolute Ricky Saints. Now, how do I want to put this? This wasn't a disappointing match. Let me say that. It wasn't disappointing. I wish they would have went a different route with how this match went. So ultimately, Ricky Saints is the winner. He wins. He's the new NXT champion. But the issue I had with it is he won off of 4 DDTs. One DDT was on the announce table. I think another DDT was on the floor. Oba was able to recover. He was able to hit the fall from grace, but Ricky kicks out. Then he proceeds to catch Oba in another DDT, then hits a tornado DDT off the ropes, and boom, that was it. Now, the reason why it was a little was because if something would have happened mid-match that would have damaged Oba's neck or gave the illusion that Oba's neck was injured or something like that, that would have worked fine, especially with the DDT being, you know, you getting dropped on your head and neck. And then it's like, you know, with Ricky, not even like, yeah, he does that, you know, tornado DDT, but it's not like on some, I know I'm showing my age, leave me alone. It ain't like on some Jake the Snake where he's like the master of the DDT type of situation. So had they would have sold that better, especially since Oba was beating the shit out of Saints pretty much this whole match. And that's what made it even more like, because like I said, I am not mad that Saints is the champion. If y'all remember, I think I said it when I did the was it Great American Bash Battleground, whatever was the last PLE, and he got into Oba's face. I said, okay, Saints is gonna be the one. But like I said, I am not mad that Ricardo is the champ. It was just, I wish, excuse me, it was done better. I wish it was done better so that way it would have made the victory more believable. Because I realize there's a sizable difference between one Richard and one Oba. So I kind of figured he wasn't going to hit the Rochambeau. But if they were going to do that DDT route, I wish something would have happened mid-match that would have sold the fact that, oh no, Oba hurt his neck, or, you know, something like that. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. But once again, to that boy, Richard Starks. Richard Saints. That is his old name. Richard Saints, who is now your new NXT champ. And I do want to say, Big Oba held shit down. Held shit down as NXT champion. I would not be surprised if maybe at Halloween Havoc they run it back, or they may do like what they did with Stephanie, and maybe Oba may be just getting called up. Maybe he may take maybe they may give him a little bit of time. Maybe they may try to iron out some crinkles and wrinkles with how they're gonna bring him up. But Big Oba might be a problem. Well, they need to make Big Oba a problem on the main roster. Let me say it that way. Also, that happened at No Mercy. You had JC Jane defending her NXT Women's Championship against Lola Vice. This wasn't a bad match either, but you kind of felt the outcome of the match, especially, JC having Fallon there, and then of course now with Jasmine Nix being gone, you kind of just felt the shenanigans was gonna shenan. And shout outs to Ashley, because she was calling it out that, hey, Fallon is kind of doing too much. Because Fallon was just doing too much, and it was like, hey, ref, kick her out. And then when she finally got like sort of physical in the ref's face to where it was like obvious, then it was like, all right, now you gotta go. Girl, I'm a girl. Guy. Come on now. Come on. But ultimately, while Lola was on the outside and JC was capturing the ref's attention, a woman in all black hits a bicycle knee on Lola, which threw her back in the ring. Lola gets up, rolling encore. JC Jane retains. Now to just fast forward, speed some things on NXT. While JC and Fallon were backstage, Lainey Reed came to them and pretty much revealed it was her. She gave JC the mask by saying, yeah, it was me that, hit Lola. And then she was like, oh yeah, what I did to Jasmine, that was free. So those two went down. So now I'm pretty sure y'all are probably like, well, why did he talk about those two matches? Well, because NXT started off with Richard Saints coming out first and basically talking about, having that NXT pride and how he's champion. And while he's kind of talking and getting his bars off, JC Jane comes out. And pretty much they're fast tracking this NXT versus TNA. Remember what I said last week? They were originally calling it Invasion. They had renamed it to Showdown. I guess Invasion was kind of more of a negative word. So they renamed next week's NXT to NXT Showdown. And pretty much what's going to happen is, and I'm going to reveal more when we get there, but from groundwork, we know the Hardys and Dark State are having a winner-take-all tag team match. There's going to be a women's and men's traditional Survivor Series matches where it's going to be 4-on-4. Well, with Mr. Saints and JC, they are your team captains for Teams NXT. And all the while they were talking, Santino comes out and he introduces the captains to TNA. Mike Santana is for the men, and yes, you do see the newly crowned Kalani Jordan, the TNA Knockouts champion, is leading the TNA Knockouts team. Now, Santino said, yes, I know a Tricky Williams is the NXT champion, but I can't trust him. I can't trust him, so that's why Mike Santana is the team captain. And yeah, even though Kalani is NXT, as you can see, she is leading Team TNA. So, but they all get in, and pretty much they're basically saying later on that evening there's going to be a summit where they're going to pretty much announce each teams. You know, Santana's going to announce his team, Kalani's going to announce her team, Saints his, and JC hers. So that was pretty much that segment. Now, before we roll more into it, let's rewind back to No Mercy. So we were supposed to get Sol Ruka defending her speed championship against Lainey Reed. Well, it was revealed that Lainey was hurt. She wasn't medically cleared, which you heard what I said earlier about with Lainey. So Lainey was replaced with Jada Parker. And I don't know, from the way that from the way that she was replaced, it would have almost had you think that Jada was going to win. Like, that was the crazy part. Like, it kind of gave off the feel that maybe Jada was going to win with that being like the surprise substitute. But about, I can't remember where time-wise in the match, but eventually Lash Legend does come out, causing some interference, and, well, as Jaeger likes to say, the DIC, you know, distraction, interference, and confusion. And it was all three. Because when all of that confusion, distraction, and interference happened, then right when Jada was getting back in the ring after she kind of hit Lash and whatnot, because I want to say, did she hit Lash? No. I feel like Zarya ended up spearing Lash because of what happened with Jada. I think that's what it was. Zarya ends up spearing Lash because of what happened. And then from all of that confusion, right when Jada gets in the ring, Soul was setting up the Soul Snatcher. Bow, 1, 2, 3. Soul retains her speed championship. So that happened. So now, to bring it back around, the opening contest of NXT was Miss Parker taking on the Bougie Bully. And yeah, Jada wasn't for play. Like how she'd be like, clock it. No, Jada wasn't for play. Yeah, her and Lash was going back and forth and this and the other, but Jada wasn't here for the play. Jada was like, nah, I'm over Lash. I'm over this woman getting in my business and getting all in my mix. And yeah, though it was an athletic contest, Jada wasn't here for the play, which ultimately it led to Jada hitting the drive-by, and 1, 2, 3, Jada gets the dub. And pretty much she was kind of like, I know it's not completely over, but she let her know pretty much it's kind of 1-1, and she ready to run it again if it needs to be ran again. All right, let's rewind it back to NXT, because I want to say, so NXT, we are talking about NXT, right? Let's run it back to No Mercy, where we had Javon Evans taking on Josh Briggs, and kind of like what I was talking about with Jada. Javon had something to prove. The last time Evans and Briggs went at it, Briggs kind of handled up on Javon, and it was leaning that way, but Evans got the roar of the crowd, and pretty much Evans was like, nah, and Briggs was trying to go for a choke slam. He countered it into a cutter, and then from the cutter he did the top rope cutter. Wow, 1, 2, 3, the young OG gets the dub, baby. Now, from that, on TNA's pay-per-view they announced at the next TNA pay-per-view, it will be the young OG taking on the youngest in charge, Leon Slater, for the X Division Championship. Now, the X Division champion was in the building. There was a moment where Javon and Evans, that's the same person. Javon and Leon were back there talking, and they was basically talking about how, we got our match coming up. And even though it's this whole NXT TNA thing, they're still remaining friends. They're like, we're cool, we're friends, we have no ill will or bad blood. So when we're going to do this match, we're going to have this match. The Cullen walks up, and the Cullen is like, hey, say fam, you fraternizing with the enemy, right? And then, of course, Javon was like, boy, if you know Javon's programs, if you know Javon's promos, you know how the young OG can get down. But later on, it's going to be, once again, the young OG and the youngest in charge are going to take on Nico and Sean Spears. Then Lyra shows back up, and she gifted Tatum Barbie in the likeness of Lyra, and Izzy didn't like that too much. She kind of pulled Tatum away, and then they kind of ski and daddled. Yeah, they skied and daddled. Going back to No Mercy, Ethan Page did take on Tavion Heights. And once again, this was one of those matches. Tavion gave a great showing. Tavion is going to be one of those good hands. And shout out to the TNA stable. But you know what I'm saying? Like, he's going to be one of the ones to where if he's truly needed for a feud, or if he's truly needed to put on those underrated matches, I can see Tavion being that guy. But they had that moment of NXT last week when Miles and Ethan kind of had that stare down. And I think I made mention on here before that I see Miles potentially being the one to dethrone Ethan, especially since, he christened the belt with the Canada colors. I know it's Canada, y'all. Chill out. I know. But since he put the Canada colors on there, it was like, all right, at some point, somebody got a dethrone dude. But so, like I said, Ethan Page eventually hits the twisted grin. He gets the dub 1, 2, 3. So he does come out and pretty much is celebrating his win, and pretty much at the same time, he's basically saying, I can't focus too much because El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. is still looming. And when I thought it was pretty much going to be announced that them two are going to go edit the music of this man, Mustafa Ali hits, and he comes out there. And funny enough, Mustafa's promo and what he said made the absolute sense. He was like, 2 years ago, I earned a shot for the NXT North American Championship. He said, right when I was about to get my title shot, I got released. I'm here to circle the block, boy. I understand I'm in TNA, but I'm here to circle the block to get my title shot that I never got. And Ethan Page was like, pretty much, man, get the bullshit out of here. I don't care. You don't even work here no more type energy. But it was announced that next week, Mustafa Ali, Ethan Page, NXT North American Championship. So I expect that to be one of them matches where it's like, ooh. Now they did get into a little scuffle. Mustafa comes out on top. So, if you're going by the laws of the WWE, it can get a little tricky about, who gets the upper hand with the scuffles. I'm only going to talk about this last match that happened on NXT because it does. Actually, you know what? I'll wait to talk about it because it does come up in a little bit. But so from that, we do get a backstage segment where JC and Jada sorry, JC and Fallon were in the women's locker room, and she was kind of announcing some of the participants, and she was pretty much saying, after her dominant performance, I'm gonna say Jada is gonna be on the team. Though I can't stand her, but she is a double champ. Soul is on the team. And then Fallon was like, well, I get the last spot. And Lola was like, hey, I know we just had our match and I know you won, but you know I can drop people. You even said that I hit you the hardest you ever been hit. So give your girl a chance to be on the team. So it was like, fine, whatever. Later on is going to be, actually I can fast track it now. Fallon takes on Lola, and you know, Fallon tried. Fallon tried. I mean, especially with the help of JC. You know, Fallon tried, but in the end, you know, she got dropped. She got dropped, and Lola got the dub. Now, what I did skip that I'm gonna rewind back to. Earlier in the men's locker room, Saints was back there trying to pick his team. And guess who happens to pop up? TNA champ, Trick Willie. And Trick Willie was like, well, hey, TNA's loss is your game, Starks. So, Saints, sorry. Saints. So, pretty much Trick was like, well, hey, I'm your co-captain. And Saints was like, hey, yo, say Playboy. Only way this co-captain stuff comes in, but since you are as decorated as you are on the team, and Javon is on the team. And they was like, yeah, we need a big man. Jasper Troy tries to push his way through, but then, you know, Trick was like, okay, well, we still got Jasper Troy. We still got Josh Briggs. And originally he said, he as in Saints said Miles Bourne. And so he was like, well, how about we do this? How about Miles Bourne takes on Josh Briggs, and the winner is on the team. So, and I'm gonna talk about that. So yeah, Miles Briggs, winner is on the team. Just like how I said with Fallon and Lola, Briggs tried, but ultimately, okay, Briggs tried, and Briggs was succeeding until Briggs tried to cheat. He tried to use the chain. And as you can see, one Matt Cardona comes and causes interference. From that, the ref was able to see that Briggs was cheating. He eats a drop kick from Bourne. And I forgot what move Bourne did, but ultimately Bourne gets the dub. So yes. So pretty much the men's and women team is set. On the NXT side, if you're keeping up. On the men's side, Ricky Saints, Trick Willie, Miles Bourne, Javon Evans. On the women's side, JC Jane, Lola Vice, Jada Parker, and Sol Ruka. More on that later. Now, to talk about the other match I didn't discuss on About No Mercy. In the weaponized steel cage match, you did have Jordan Grace taking on Blake Monroe. I can appreciate the intensity and sort of violence that was in this match. Like, you know, it wasn't a we have weapons, so we're going to sparingly use them, or we have weapons, but you know, they was here for decorations. Nah, they was using trash can lids, kendo sticks, chairs, tables. Like it they was using some things. At one point, Blake took some scissors and started cutting some of Jordan's hair out. But at another point, Blake had a bag of like diamonds. You couldn't see the quotation marks, but diamonds and all these things that was kind of used for like steel tacks, thumbtacks, and things like that. So yeah. But ultimately Jordan gets the dub. Jordan does get the dub. And I guess we'll see from that. So I bring that up because there was a moment backstage where Kalani was back there with Santana. No, sorry. Kalani was back there with Santino. And pretty much Hendry and Grace kind of have one foot in, one foot out. Even though Grace is officially signed to WWE, Hendry has been appearing on TNA, but he's been appearing on NXT, but he's still signed to TNA. And it was kind of one of those, they have one foot in, one foot out. And it's like, hey, we don't know where y'all stand. So, and then Santana walks up to Kalani and was basically like, hey, we don't really know if we can trust them because, you know, one foot in, one foot out. But hey, Kalani, I want you to meet some people. And she was like, who do you want me to meet? Everyone. I can't do the Gary Odom justice, but everyone. So yeah, and that's how that segment ended. And pretty much that was all of No Mercy to wrap it back up to this. So now we do get a Hardy Boys. Can we still call them the Hardy Boys? We get the Hardy Men. We get the Hardys. We get the Hardys having a segment, and pretty much they was like, hey, we won every tag team championship in WWE, but not the NXT. I mean, foreshadowing there to me, if you ask me, foreshadowing. So it was like, hey, we want them NXT championships. So Dark State, you will get deleted. And Dark State had a segment later where they was pretty much saying, man, squash all of that. We can't wait to run through these legends. And since you already know it's going to be Dion and Osiris, there's no need to kind of know who you going to face type of energy. So, yeah, the Hardys, Dion and Osiris representing Dark State, title for title. One team would be champs. Most likely it's going to be the Hardys. I'm just putting it out there. They just kind of, you know, putting it out there. Champs. Then we get to the tag match between the Young OG and the Youngest in Charge. That is Javon Evans and Leon Slater, respectively, taking on the team of Nico Vance and that is not that man's name, Sean Spears of the Culling. This was kind of one of the showcase matches. If I'm being honest, this was a showcase match because this was Leon Slater's first match in NXT. You know, especially to kind of pique the interest since him and Javon are going to have their match. So it was piquing the interest. So, and to be honest, they should have called themselves the Bouncy Boys. Just throwing it out there. I understand it's a loose partnership, and this was probably a one night only tag situation, but they should have called themselves the Bouncy Boys for the night. I'm sorry, because they even mentioned that their match is going to be bouncy. They said it. They should call themselves the Bouncy Boys or something along that line. Team? No, forget it. I ain't gonna say that one. But yeah. This was pretty much to kind of showcase Leon and Javon together. And you know, if you haven't seen a highlight of Leon's amazing Swanton 450, that's his finisher. And it's like, my goodness, man, you can just pull this out just to do it. Like, the athleticism is crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, the Bouncy Boys, I'm calling them that. I'm sorry. Gets the dub. Then we get to the NXT TNA Summit. So during the commercial break, as you can see, the NXT representatives was outside. And then, you know, they kind of did an old school WCW nod, but unfortunately they kind of did it with a Cybertruck. So that kind of diminished it a little bit, that the TNA people were in a Cybertruck, but fine, whatever. But you can see Steph, Kazarian, Cedric Alexander, Mance Warner, Mike Santana, Kalani Jordan, Matt Cardona, the Inspiration, aka the formerly the Iconics, Mara Sade, Zachary Wentz, the Elegance brand, Zia Lee, which I totally forgot what her new name is in TNA, but pretty much as you can see, they're coming to quote unquote invade the arena. Then we get the moment where kind of, everybody standing all around and everybody's there. Now we get the official teams. Like I told you earlier, we have Saints, Evans, Williams, and Bourne. And Mike Santana announces his team. It is going to be Mike Santana, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Leon Slater. Yep. Now, going back to the women's, JC, Jada, Soul, and Lola, while Kalani announced the team of the Inspiration, and herself, the Inspiration, and Mara Sade. Once again, Mara Sade was Jakara Jackson, if y'all didn't know. So those would be your 2 Survivor Series S matches for the men and women. Now, I do love the bars kind of JC kind of dropped on Kalani, because she was like, say girl, you work here, right? And you representing TNA like nothing. So she was like, that's crazy. But it does lead into another brawl, another scuffle. But as you can see this time around, NXT held it down. NXT held down the house. So they didn't get punked like they did last time around. You know what I'm saying? They held it down this time. So for what we have for Showdown, once again, we got the Hardys taking on Dark State, title for title. Ethan Page taking on Mustafa Ali for the North American Championship. We have the women's Survivor Series style matches. Once again, JC Jane, Jada Parker, Sol Ruka, Lola Vice taking on Kalani, the Inspiration, and Mara Sade. Then for the men's Survivor Series match, we got Ricky Saints, Javon Evans, Trick Williams, Miles Bourne taking on the team of Mike Santana, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Leon Slater. Now, those are the 4 matches announced for next week. We don't know if there's going to be any other, segments or situations, but those are the 4 matches. Now, this is where, if you made it to this part, this is where normally we do this on TMI, which I still may repurpose it for TMI as well. This is where I'm going to get it off my chest. How do you have something this good with a 1-week build? If y'all don't rechristen Halloween Havoc to be a TV special and make this a PLE, there's a shame that you are going to do this on a 2-hour time limit and a hard time limit. When 9 o'clock hit, the news is on. There is no overrun. Why did they not put this on a pay-per-view? To have the talent like this of both rosters, why did y'all not make this a pay-per-view special? Y'all could have easily been like, hey, due to the demand or due to whatever, shout out to Ricochet and GOA, due to the demand or whatever, Halloween Havoc is going to be a 2-week TV special. Nobody wouldn't have been sad. And now Halloween Havoc is going to be NXT TNA Showdown. Why are we doing this on TV? I don't want to watch picture in picture. I don't want some stuff. I don't want matches to seem like they gotta hurry along because 9 o'clock, boom, it cuts off. This should have been pay-per-view, PLE, whatever you want to call it. Y'all could have let this cook a little bit more. It didn't even have to happen so soon. Like, this could have cooked for another like couple of weeks. You could have had mad NXT people going to TNA causing havoc, TNA people still causing havoc in NXT. Then it could have led to, all right, now, damn it, we got to do something about this. It's too much fighting between shows. But no, because of Trick Williams and Obafemi having a title for title match that enraged the TNA people, that spawned this in essence. It's blowing my mind that this was a gift handed to them, and it's like, but hey, we're gonna do it on NXT next week. Let it cook. This could have been announced today or yesterday rather, and then kind of build a week or two upon the fact that, you know, Kalani is kind of being a traitor per se, and, you know, Trick not being chosen for TNA, and, you know, TNA just in the building chilling. NXT is in a building just chilling. But no, we're going to have this event next week, and you know what's going to happen after that? We're going to have, what? 2 weeks, in essence, to build to Halloween Havoc. So now, this is going to feel like a one-off moment, because now Ricky Saints is going to need an opponent for Halloween Havoc. JC James is going to need an opponent for Halloween Havoc. I'm pretty sure Ethan's going to retain, and they're going to do Paige versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. But it was like, I cannot believe that they are fast tracking this amazing idea to a 1 week show. Now, another great moment that did happen while they was brawling was that I just love the fact that Shawn Michaels just comes out there and just watched the chaos and was like, with the biggest Kool-Aid smile on his face. Like, yes, I love this. I love it all. But I am just so upset at the fact that they are fast tracking this the way they're doing it. Like, this is crazy to me. That's the end of my TED Talk. Thank y'all for tuning in to another NXT.A.G. Once again, I know this was a supersized episode because I was weaving in both and trying to, you know, fit in the aftermath of that, along with the fact that we have Showdown next week. Thank y'all for tuning in. Shout outs to my tag brethren. Shout outs to y'all out there. Love one another. Love yourself. Take care of one another and take care of yourself. And until next time, you beautiful, beautiful people out there, don't forget to tag out. Peace.
Free fall as I dive through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama.